Deutz-Fahr is a German agricultural machinery manufacturer. It was established in 1968 after the acquisition of the majority share capital of Fahr, a leading company already producing agricultural equipment in the previous century, by the Knockler Humboldt Deutz Group. In 1995, Deutz-Fahr joined the Italian group Sami Lamborghini Hurliman to become the Sami Deutz-Fahr Group, now known as the SDF Group that we had spoken about in our previous video on Sami. Good morning, everybody. If you're watching in the morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this at. Um, you're very welcome back to the channel, and to everyone who's been commenting on my previous video. The last one, I think, was the 165, was a couple of weeks ago. Everybody who commented and said had great things to say about it. Thanks very much, all our new subscribers, and we've hit over the 3,000 subscribers marks. So yeah, I'm delighted with that. Thank you so much to everybody. I've been on a bit of a break for the last couple of weeks. As you know, it's been a really busy time, and I just couldn't commit to making any videos during the week. So I just said, instead of making, throwing videos together, I just said I'd wait, take a little bit of a break, get everything wrapped up at home or on the farm, stuff we had to do, and then we'd move on. So it's September now. Things are getting back to, I suppose, normal. Kids are back to school. Harvest is nearly over. It's a beautiful weekend here. 24 degrees it was today. There's a bit of barley left to be cut, there's wheat left to be cut, there's some beans left to be cut, but the next couple of days is promised good, and hopefully it will all be wrapped up. So yeah, that's it. So today we are talking about the Deutz-Fahr Group. Now, Deutz, of course, a huge company with a huge history, and there's going to be information in this video that is, important to not just people who are, fans of Deutz tractors or Sami tractors. All machinery around the world will, has its roots in what was the Deutz company, similar to, all tractors pretty much today, has its roots in the three-point linkage that was developed by Harry Ferguson and co. It's something very similar, some fascinating information, to be honest, in this video. So please do stick around and watch as much of it as you can. Um, there is some great stuff in it. So I'm not going to chat too long. We're going to have a chat about Fahr first, the Fahr company, a brief talk about Fahr. We're going to talk about Deutz then, of course, the coming together. We're going to talk about the history, of course, throughout the war, which was massive for them, and then a few in the models as the year went on, up to where we kind of have the modern day Deutz-Fahr company into the mid 90s. So yeah, so the history of Fahr to start off with. So Machine Fabrik Fahr, the Fahr machine factory, was established by Johann Fahr in Gottmadigen in 1870. Now, do please forgive my German pronunciations. I'm doing my best here with this script, but there are some hugely long words here that I have to get my tongue around. One of its most important products was the self-binder, manufactured in 1911, while the first tractor, the Fahr F22, was built in 1938 from an idea of Wilfred Fahr and Bernard Fleurlag, and had a 22 horsepower Deutz F2M 414 twin-cylinder engine. Now, of course, Fahr were very popular, I suppose, in our neck of the woods in the UK and Ireland in the 1970s, 1980s. There's still a lot of their combines knocking around today. There was quite a few, and they would have been very popular back in the 70s and 80s. And indeed, the first combine I ever drove, I ever operated on my own, was a was a Fahr combine. I think it was it was either an M1000 or an M1200. I'm pretty sure it was a 1200 when I was probably 15 or 16 years of age. It was the one that was traded in for a John Deere, and we were using it ourselves one summer when the pressure was on. So 12-foot cut, yeah, happy out. Great way to start. No cab, of course, but it was a great way to learn the ropes. So yeah, that was Fahr. So the first design was developed to become the Fahr T22 in 1940. The Fahr Holzgaff Schalper HG25, that was in 1942. So sometime after the end of World War II, the company had to adapt to meet new needs, expanding its product range. Its models included the Fahr D30W, that was in 1949, the Fahr D15, 49 as well, the Fahr D12N, the D17N, the D90, and the D180H in 1954. In 1961, KHD acquired 25% shares in Fahr, and the complete acquisition of plants and business operation was completed in 1977. So some of the models that they produced, the Fahr company produced machines and equipment for land farming, forage, choppers, threshers, grain mills, presses, and hoists, forage harvesters, mowers, tethers, rakes. That was up until 1896. Harvesters for cereal, reapers, self-binders, combine harvesters, hay and straw harvesters, presses, rotary presses, balers, straw choppers, maize choppers, self-loading trailers, and machines for transport, fertilization, and tilling up until from 1954 onwards. Um, so yeah, that was the Farrer company. That was that was their route. That was what they produced, and from then on, obviously, it got amalgamated into what would become the Deutz-Fahr company. So we take a look at Deutz. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting, and the people who were involved with Deutz. So in 1864, Nicholas August Otto and Eugen Langen founded NA Otto and Co. in Cologne, the first engine factory in the world, which became Nochler Humboldt Deutz AG in 1938. Now, anyone who has studied mechanics or has studied heat engines or knows anything about engines, the four-stroke cycle is, the operating principle of pretty much all internal combustion engines that are on the road today, with the exception of some of the rotary Wankel engines and stuff. But 99.9% of engines operate on the principle of the four-stroke cycle. Of course, two-stroke smaller engines are different, but four-stroke engines. So Nicholas August Otto, who was involved with Deutz, the founder of the Deutz company, he was the man who developed, invented, if you like, the four-stroke cycle that we all have become very well familiar with. So induction, compression, ignition, exhaust, or as some people say it, suck, squeeze, bang, blow. So that's it. That's the basic principles that all four-stroke engines work on. This was the man, Nicholas August Otto, who developed and pioneered it. So in 1867, the atmospheric gas engine developed by N.A. Otto and E. Langen won a gold medal at the Exposition Universelle in 1867 for the most economical powered machine for light industry. Now, this would have been a step on from the steam age. So far more energy efficient at the time than your steam engine where you have to shove a coal in and whatnot. So in 1872, the factory was expanded and the joint stock company Gas Motoren Fabrik Deutz AG (GDF) was founded. In 1876, Nicholas August Otto completed the four-stroke cycle internal combustion engine for all types of fuel, and use for engines began to spread worldwide, starting from Cologne itself. In 1884, Otto developed the ignition with a low voltage magnet. This electrical ignition system was later acquired by Robert Bosch for his business. So the Bosch system that's in most German vehicles, I would say pretty much all German vehicles, and others around the world have Bosch systems of some sort in it. Robert Bosch, obviously, he took his developments from Otto, from the man who invented and pioneered the four-stroke cycle, and was a founder of the Deutz company. So in 1894, production of self-propelled machines with Otto engines and tractors got underway in Philadelphia, in the USA. In 1907, the mass production of diesel engines began at the GDF factory. So from 1907 to 1912, under the management of the Italian-born Ettore Bugatti, some car models were built in Cologne. So there we have another huge name dropped into the mix here, with the sports car company Bugatti involved in things. So in 1914, the company celebrated its 50th anniversary. Up to this date, engines have been produced for an overall horsepower of roughly 90,000 horsepower. So that's all the engines that they had built combined make 90,000 horsepower. 3,400 manual workers and 700 office staff were employed by the company. In 1921, a consortium was founded with Motorfabriken Oberrussel AG, and the company name was changed to Deutz AG. So that's where the Deutz name came from. So in 1927, Deutz built its first road tractor with a compressorless diesel engine in Cologne, the 14 horsepower Deutz MTH222 with two forward gears and one reverse gear. So there you have it. The very first Deutz tractor ever produced was the MTH222. So in 1930 then, Motorfabrik Deutz AG merged with Maschiner Bau Anstalt Humboldt AG, founded in 1856, and Motorenfabrik Oberrussel AF, founded in 1892, merged with Humboldt Deutz Motoren AG. So again, as we've seen in many, many other companies down through our talks, our previous videos, there's always been huge amalgamation with companies, combining small companies being swallowed up, looking for niche companies that do niche things that can add value to one big parent company. And the Deutz company, of course, is no different. As from 1934, the Deutz F2M 315 was produced. In 1935, the Deutz FM3 317 came into being, followed by 1996 by the People's Tractor, the F1M 414. Now, when we look at the phrase and we look at the time of the introduction of this tractor, the People's Tractor, if you do recall, if anybody has studied any sort of history in regard to World War II or Germany around the 1930s, you had the People's Car, which obviously was the Volkswagen Beetle, and that was hugely subsidized and encouraged, and subsidized by the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, Mr. Adolf Hitler. And although we know the kind of person that he was, or had became, he had put huge resources, huge money, huge finances into Germany prospering as a country, within agriculture, uh, in the way that farmers would be able to afford to buy their own tractors. They could go out and afford to buy a car, afford to buy a tractor, be productive. Um, I'm not going to give the man any credit, but that's what he done. That's the way Germany was at the time before other ideology kind of took over. Um, it was a flourishing country at that time. So that was the F1M 414. That was a single cylinder, water cooled 11 horsepower engine, the first mini tractor worldwide to be mass produced. The tractor was decisive in promoting the mechanization of small farms, and that's what they wanted. They wanted everybody self sufficient, everybody able to get out, grow their own food, um, have their own houses, and be prosperous. And obviously rear as many children as they could, and especially young boys. They actually got paid. The more children that they had, they got a reduction on their mortgage. So if they had a mortgage of, say, it was 50,000 Deutschmarks, I don't know. If they had one child, they got a 25% reduction. If they had two, they got a 50% reduction. If they had three children, they got a 75% reduction on their mortgage. And if they had four children, their mortgage was wiped out. So that was incredible stuff at the time, what they actually done to make sure that as many little Germans were born as possible. Yeah, obviously other things were going on in Herr Hitler's mind at the time. So yeah, in 1936, the lorry manufacturer Fahrzeugfabrik CD Mergerus AG of Ulm was acquired. Now this Mergerus, I will get back to this company a little bit down the line. There's some huge information about that company, of what they went on to become and what they had done in the past as well. So in 1937 and 1938, Nockler was acquired and the company was renamed KHD Nockler Humboldt Deutz AG, one of the company's largest groups covering all sectors of the engine industry: cars, lorries, trains, ships, aircraft, and tractors. The considerable damage of the war caused production to stop during the winter of 1944 to 45. At the end of the war, 75% of Cologne production sites had been destroyed by, Allied bombing raids and whatnot. And in 1945, reconstruction started with a massive effort. And before we go any further, just a quick question for people out there that might drop an answer into the comments, of all the people that are still watching. Um, who who listens to podcasts, say when you're driving, if you're out working, if you're on bus, if you're walking, if you're in the car, if you're in a tractor, if you're just going about your daily life, if it's at home in the evening time. I know I don't listen to radio in the car at all, or when I'm out on the road in the van, or if I'm in a field on a tractor, I don't listen to the radio. I listen to just either pure music or I listen to podcasts. They're a great source of information, but who actually listens to podcasts? And if you do listen to them, what kind of ones do you listen to? Um, uh, Farming related, agriculture related, machinery related, cars, sport. It's just something that I want to add into my little bit of research that I've been doing recently. So if you listen to podcasts, do you listen to them? And what type of ones do you listen to? I'd appreciate people dropping some answers into the comments. And for those of you that don't know what a podcast is, because there are people going to be watching this wondering what is a podcast. Well, basically, a podcast is take what I'm doing now, but take away the video. Although some podcasts are videoed and they're uploaded onto a particular podcast site, like Spotify, or there's various sites you can go and you can just plug on your earphones, go into the site, and you can just listen to one person, two people, or three people talking about a particular topic, giving out information, or just having some fun. Um, as an alternative to watching the radio or listening to the radio. It's a good form of entertainment and education. I find it more educational than anything. Anyone doesn't know what a podcast is. It's sort of the audio version of what YouTube is. Yeah. So get on with it. We'll get on with today's video. So in 1950, 5 years after the end of the war, the situation and production had returned to normal conditions. Workforce now was up at 13,000 employees, production of 40,000 engines for an overall horsepower of 1.5 million, 10,000 tractors, 6,000 industrial vehicles. Turnover was up on 300 million Deutschmarks. This was the era of the air-cooled engines. So the first was the 15 horsepower F1L 514. In this period, Deutz also introduced direct power takeoff with dual friction. Thanks to the D25, the D40, and the D15, the new generation engines, and the FL712 with front suspension to improve driving comfort, Deutz recorded huge sales success. In 1952, the Argentinian make Saida made under license the first Deutz tractors near the city of Canulas. That was roughly in the Buenos Aires province. 5 models, 3 air-cooled and 2 water-cooled, like Deutz F1L 514, the F2L 514, F3L 514. In 1953, production of crawlers had started. So then in 1958, the D series of tractors was introduced with the D40 model garnering the most success. In 1962, machines began to be equipped with a Deutz transformatic system. And the transformatic system was, I suppose, Deutz's answer to the hydraulic depth control, load control on the hydraulics. So shortly before the end of the series, the first six-cylinder Deutz was launched in 1964, and that was the D80, and it had a 75 horsepower engine. So in 1979, agreement was signed in Argentina with La Cantabrica for the production of tractors and agricultural implements in the city of Haedo. That was in Buenos Aires also. The first models were the Deutz D35, the D30, the D55, and the local A series. That was the Deutz A110 for the 110, sorry, the A70, the A70, A7026, the A50, A45, and the A55. In 1964, the Margaris logo became the symbol of the company KHD. So the Margaris, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Margaris. So Margaris are a huge, huge company. They were a truck manufacturer. I think they're now owned by Iveco. And Margaris would be famous for making fire engines. So fire engines, they would have been the first developers of the rotatable ladder on the platform. They also would have been famous at the time in the 1930s for making a lot of trucks and production equipment for the war, for the Germans, for the Nazis. They would have made the carriers for the V2 rockets, the trucks, the carriers for the V2 rockets. They made trucks for gas, for carrying gas, for whatever purposes. Um, well, yeah, they were a huge company. They were very heavily involved in the war on the Nazi side, obviously. But if you look at the Marjoris logo, it's an M. But if you look at the Deutz logo, the Deutz-Fahr logo today, it's the same M, just with a peak on the top of it. So that's where the logo came from the Marjoris company. Um, a very, very interesting company with a big history. Obviously, they were doing what they thought, or they were probably doing what they were told during the war. This was what they had to do to help their country. But yeah, that's where the logo, the Deutz logo, has came from. It came from the Marjoris company um, that they had acquired into the KHD group. So the D05, the D05 tractor range was then built in 1965 with the four-wheel drive, as well as the D06 series in 1968 with over 380,000 models sold. So Deutz-Fahr was established in 1968 following the acquisition of the majority of share capital in Fahr, a leading company and part of the Nockler Humboldt Deutz AG, the KHD group, already producing agricultural equipment in the previous century. So in 1969, Kodal and Baum of Bavaria, somewhere in Bavaria, yeah, specialized in production of agricultural machinery. They were acquired. So also in 1970 in Argentina was launched the following models. So the A46, the A65 Canero, the A85, the A100, the A130, and the A144. And I do believe, and I do stand corrected on this, but the when you look at the model types, the AX and the DX, I'm led to believe that the D stands for Deutschland, for Germany, and A stands for Argentina. So anything with an A was built and it was sold only for the Argentinian market at the time. Um, Now I do stand corrected on that, but that's what I believe to be true. So then in 1978, 1972, the Intrac series of multi-role tractors was unveiled with multiple automatic hitches for implements and forward cab layout with a front lift and PTO, making them extremely effective in agricultural, civil, and industrial applications alike. Now, I have spoken about the Intrac before when I done a video on Deutz, no, sorry, not Deutz, on JCB Fast Track, and of course the MB Track. It's a similar type of utility tractor. They are an ugly looking thing, if you ask me. They're horrible looking. They weren't overly successful, not in our country anyway, or in the UK. Um, I think that the MB Track was probably far more popular. Um, so in 1978, then the Deutz DX was launched on the market, new generation of tractor featuring synchronized gears, forced lubrication system, four-wheel drive as standard, electronic hitch regulation, and cabs with elastic suspension with horsepower ranging from 80 to 20. Now I do have some sort of a history with the DX range. The DX90, an uncle of mine had one towards the late 80s, probably around 1989, 1990, something around that. An uncle of mine had one for maybe 2 years. I used to be digging potatoes with it, and it was used for pulling out loads of potatoes. And anybody that has driven a Deutz DX model knows the engines were superb. Hugely powerful, torquey, grunty, great grip out them, a great machine to pull. They're fantastic for that kind of work. Um, they had it for a year or two, and then I suppose he got sent and he bought a John Deere. I suppose that's all I'd say. So yeah, no, I do remember them. I do remember them well. Um, so yeah, in 1980, then launched in Argentina the first Deutz-Fahr tractor line with the following models: AX80, the AX80C, the AX100, the 120, the 160, and the 160F, whatever the F stands for. So since 1982, all tractors have the Deutz-Fahr brand. So any tractor since 1982 is branded Deutz-Fahr, even the ones today. In 1987, Deutz Argentina SA launched the following models in Argentina. So the AX 4.60, the 460 Vintero, The 475, the 475AX 4100, the 4100L, and the 4170, the 4190, and the DT models as well. So moving into the 1990s, so 1992, Deutz-Fahr manufactured its 1 millionth tractor. In 1993, with the AgroStar, the 671, the 681, the 831, 165 to 230 horsepower models, electronic power shift transmission produced by the Sami, Lamborghini, and Hurleyman Group were used. So yeah, that's when they became the mainstream Deutz that we have today. That AgroStar line is still, it's following on through. In 1995, then KHD, um, Agritechnic GmbH of Cologne Tractors and Deutz-Fahr Ernst Systems GmbH combine harvesters and balers were sold to the Italian group SLH, and the Sami Deutz-Fahr group became into being. In 1997, Nockler Humboldt Deutz AG changed its company name to Deutz AG. The new company focused on developing production, distribution, and after-sales service of 4 to 7,400 kilowatt engines. So you have to look at that in the terms of Deutz AG is an engine manufacturer. Deutz-Fahr is a tractor manufacturer. They're part of the one family, but they're different companies. Deutz-Fahr tractors would use Deutz AG engines. Not made by the same company as such, but by this, under the same umbrella. Deutz-Fahr, of course, is part of the Sami Deutz-Fahr group, SDF group, and Deutz AG is a separate company, all coming under the one heading. But Deutz AG make engines for pretty much everything, for ships, for boats, for airplanes, for you name it, they make it, and they are superb engines. They really, really are. Superb, hard to be faulted. So look, that's where I'm leaving it for today. That's it. That has taken us up to the modern day Deutz-Fahr company. I didn't speak too much about individual models. Perhaps I will come back. I will come back with another video on some of the particular models that throughout the 80s and 90s and maybe into the 2000s that we have grown up seeing, and there are quite a lot of them around Ireland. I know maybe not so much over where I am in Galway at the minute, but over in Meath, there's a couple of big dealers over there that sold a lot of Deutz tractors, and they were very, very popular. So yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody that has waited till the end. And I will be back next Sunday with another exciting video. So yeah, if anybody has anything to say, if you have any connections with Deutz, if you've driven them, if you've worked on them as a mechanic, if you've done anything with them, please get in contact. Drop some comments in, and of course, on the podcast, if anybody watches any or listens to any podcast, what you listen to and what your preferences are. So that's it. So until next week, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.